Hello, good evening. This is live take. I don't know. Technology is not my friend, but I realized that maybe going live wasn't happening because I was actually doing it from a computer. And apparently this works a whole lot better from a phone. So hello, I'm Jessica Griffune, coming on tonight to chat with Michelle Ketvirtis. Okay. Should be joining in here. Once Michelle is able to join us, we'll get to chat with her tonight about Ayurveda. Good evening. I am joining everybody from Portage Family Healing Center, wanting to share some of Michelle's knowledge on Ayurveda and women's health. Once I can add her in. This has been a journey tonight, figuring out how to go live and how to have somebody join in. Okay, let's see. Okay, we may have done it. I feel like I pushed the right button that time, so Michelle might be joining me here in a moment. Oh my goodness, it's happening.
I had to get my phone out. It wasn't working on the computer, but.
Oh no. Okay. Well, okay. Good to know is apparently it's maybe not technology. Maybe we do know what we're doing. It's just you can't do anything on a computer now.
Apparently.
Has to be on cell phones. Well, good thing for cell phones, I guess. Well, thanks, Michelle. I was just saying this has been a journey with going live, and I'm Jessica Griffune. We have Michelle Ketvirtis. We're coming to everybody from Portage Family Healing Center, and yeah, on different screens, which is so fun. It's just fun to join up this way virtually. Goes to show all of the opportunity we have to do virtual stuff, and we don't have to be in the same room. That's okay.
Yeah.
So topic for tonight, Ayurveda and women's health and what that means. And I'm very excited because I don't have, I mean, I know the gist, but I want to hear what you have learned and kind of, you know, I know you have a passion behind this and you're knowledgeable in women's health and just passionate about how this can make such a, Ayurveda can make such a difference for women in that. So I'm going to dive right in. Can you kind of explain how Ayurveda even relates to women's health? Like maybe that would be a good starting point to share.
Yeah, of course. So Ayurveda is really all about working with our natural rhythms and cycles and the natural rhythms and cycles of nature as well and how they affect us. So I think the basis is learning how to support our natural ability to maintain balance and to heal. And Ayurveda does that through learning about these cycles and learning about, our own natural tendencies, our nature specifically. And I mean, yeah, that's.
Yeah. Okay. So in a sense, I mean, for some that maybe aren't used to this way of thinking, we often try to, I feel like, work against our natural cycles.
Yes. And society today does not support, the natural cycles. We hear about the circadian rhythm all the time and how it, governs our hormones, it governs our neurotransmitters, it governs our sleep cycles and our digestion, but we aren't really ever told too much about how we can support that other than like gazing at the sun in the morning and getting to bed at a reasonable hour. But that doesn't really include that. It totally helps, but it doesn't include how to regulate our hormones or our neurotransmitters and things like that. So Ayurveda dives really deep into how we can support that circadian rhythm, that daily rhythm, with routines, self-care practices, when we eat, how we eat, and then, just following a routine. We're routine creatures.
Yeah.
So making.
So that sounds more like, I want to say when you put it that way, as it's routine and how we eat or what we eat or when, and activities of self-care, which I love to talk about things that we can do, to benefit ourselves just at home. But all of these things that you're listing right there are things that are accessible to, I would say, majority or all.
Yeah, and we all kind of have the areas where we struggle the most. So maybe for some it's getting to sleep on time, and then our body can't detoxify because it's not, it does that while we're sleeping. And so if we stay up past 10 or we eat before bed, both of those things really hinder the body's ability to cleanse and clear. We might wake up heavy in the morning. And just that knowledge isn't shared often. Just those little things can make a huge difference in just our energy for the day. And then if we're built up with toxins, our channels aren't clear to allow the hormones to flow naturally. That's like blocking ourselves up.
Okay. And I like that because there's a part of me that knows, okay, sleep is good, sleep is necessary, but maybe I don't fully realize, like you said, it's digging into, let's talk about why that's so necessary. And here's what's happening in your body that needs to happen when we're sleeping, and how that can benefit you. And I mean, would you say it's not, how do I word this, like one night of good sleep is affecting the next day, or is this more of a consistent, regular routine you have to put in place?
Definitely more consistent, but it can be like I stay up late once a week even. We can start to feel that after a while if it's a regular thing. We can, definitely tell in our energy levels if we start to do that regularly.
Okay. All right. So I could just like keep going into sleep because I feel like Michelle's calling me out right now. My sleep routine, but it is very interesting. I feel like that alone could really be impactful. And here is just a very small part of what Ayurveda digs into.
Yeah. We can talk about like that monthly hormone cycle. We know that there's a cycle and we know that it's different and we know that the hormones fluctuate, but learning how to support the hormones that are present during each phase. And then, one of the biggest things I find I struggle with and others is allowing ourselves to slow down during right before menses and during our menstrual cycle. And our body is cleansing and detoxifying, and it really needs that, which is why we feel so tired. It's our body saying, hey, I need to slow down and rest. And again, it's hard with work and kids and all of the things, but just in any way that we can allow that and give ourselves permission and have some grace with like that tiredness, it can really help to slow down during that time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And let me add, for all of you that are watching, Michelle and I know each other. So Michelle puts in that tidbit of, I know it's hard, because she knows she she knows that that's something that me, like many of you, are probably working on. It's just hard to slow down.
Yep.
And that's the busyness of, when we're thinking about women's health, we're a lot of time thinking of moms. And we know that as moms, you have kids. And so when we talk about digging into how Ayurveda can help with women's health, it really, a lot of that is about prioritizing that time and prioritizing the maybe the shift of routine, or really putting in place some of these practices.
Yeah, and kind of letting things go, I know, is a big one for me.
Yeah.
Hold off
Yeah.
on and everything can wait for a day or two.
Yeah. But isn't that the truth? Like,
Yeah.
other things, when we really think about it, some things can absolutely wait if our body is telling us that we need this time for rest.
Yeah.
So
And the beautiful thing is that like when you answer that call to rest from your body and you actually like deeply rest, like I try to take a phone break for a few days just so my mind is not still going scrolling and things, but like deeply resting, the whole rest of the month tends to be a little bit easier because it's like a rejuvenation period where you can just kind of build that energy back up for the rest of the month to come.
okay. So it continues to help. Like if we could just take this part of our cycle to really rest and really be intentional about how we're caring for ourselves, it sets us up for what I want to say, like a better a better rest of our cycle.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Neat. So how does, and I know we're talking a little bit about this, but specifically, maybe you have some specific examples or just how Ayurveda plays into whether it's the hormone balance or menstrual health or menopause.
Yeah. So Ayurveda does most of it is mind body type based. So everyone has a different constitution and different elements that they carry within them. And so this kind of creates an inner environment. For example, I tend to be a Vata, and Vatas are air and space. And so I have a lot of the qualities of air and space. For example, dryness and irregularity, right? The wind just kind of blows all over the place in an irregular kind of pattern. So if we have irregularity as a symptom in our menstrual cycle, that is an indication of a Vata imbalance, that there's too much air and there's too much dryness, and there's too much, movement and irregularity within my being. So what we would do is we would come in with some grounding practices, some more earthy and watery practices, some nourishing practices to help eliminate that Vata and bring the body back into balance. So that would be like oil massages and rest. Vatas move a lot like the wind too, and we tend to go, go, go. So rest is a big one.
Okay. All right.
I can go through examples for each of the doshas, because there are 3 doshas.
Okay.
So for pitta is predominantly fire, but it's water as well. And so if we're experiencing things like anger, irritability, inflammation, heavy bleeding, that can come in the form of pitta. That means there's an excess fire in the body. And so we would try anti-inflammatory cooling herbs, cooling practices. Swimming in water, being around water can really help balance that out. And hot flashes, so that's a pitta symptom too, and I know that's a menopause symptom. Another one for kapha is earth and water, and if we have like water retention, fluid retention, that's a sign that we have a kapha imbalance, and we would come in with some more of the airy and drying, like the diuretics are good because they remove excess fluid from the body. Things like that.
Neat. So if somebody is watching this and has no idea what type they may be, how I know you have a resource actually. What do they tell us about that resource and how somebody can figure out their type?
So I have a dosha quiz on the website, and it will go through and ask you your physical characteristics, the qualities you experience, your digestion, things like that, that all give clues and indications as to what elements are predominant within you out of space, air, fire, water, and earth. And that's like our makeup. That's what we are created from. And this is actually being studied in quantum physics. It's really cool. But, if we're a predominant earth, we might have more earth qualities. We might have like thicker skin, oilier hair, well-rounded joints, well-covered joints. So we'd go through the quiz, and at the end it would give you your predominant body type. Most people have one or two, sometimes three, but it will give you the main one that you have, and just some tips on how to keep yourself balanced with that mind body type.
Okay. All right. So I will absolutely, when we're done, link the quiz somewhere to here, and portagefamilyhealing.com/Ayurveda-quiz. If I have that in my memory right. But so when they go on there, the quiz is there. It's like a short, how is it? They kind of answer in a scale. Is that?
Yeah, they have 3 options for most questions.
Okay.
And that's like one of the three doshas. So whatever one you have more of, you'll answer that one more. Yeah, so it's to go through, and I love the quizzes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm just thinking so many people that are seeing this may not realize that, they actually have a certain type. And yet when you go on there and you go through the quiz and then you read about it, it's probably really validating for some of the things that you feel.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Right. Right. It should speak to a lot of the things that you experience. So when you talk about self-care practices or specific rituals that are used within Ayurveda, do those vary depending on type, or are there some things that women can just incorporate into their daily routine?
There are some things that are good for everyone, but you can make it type specific. For example, Abhyanga or self-oil massage is great for everyone. But the type of oil you use will depend on your body type. For example, Vatas will probably want to use sesame oil because it's a warming oil and they tend to be cold and dry. Where Pittas do not want to use sesame oil because it's warming and they're already hot. So it can cause some irritation and some inflammation. So it is specific, but there are things that we can do, that everyone can do, to help maintain balance better.
Mm-hmm. Neat. So this is not a one size fits all.
No.
There's some understanding of Ayurveda, and then there's some understanding of yourself that needs to happen so you can really come up with a plan of how this works with your life.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So for anybody who might see this and think, yeah, I could use some help with hormone balance, or yeah, I could use some help in understanding my cycle. And that's really where it gets me. It's like, we have for so long, I guess maybe it's just the world I live in, like, we need to do this so that cycle doesn't really matter, right? You somehow gotta overcome that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Society was built for men. It was not built for the female hormone cycle. And so sometimes, I mean, one of the best self-care practices is learning how to draw boundaries around that when we are feeling tired. And that's really hard to do a lot of the time, especially with all the expectations and having children and work. And so really intentionally creating space for that. Like when I'm planning things on my calendar, I try not to schedule anything within a week and a half of when I think I'm going to be starting. I do not plan trips around that time because I know I just can't handle that. We've done that before. So, working with it intentionally. For me, the fighting against it caused migraines, ovarian cysts. My PMS symptoms got way worse. I was angry and irritable, but I started to notice that the things that were triggering me were because I was tired and I was needing that rest and that downtime. And that's another thing that I want to point out, is that like our emotions will tell us exactly what we're needing if we can take a moment to be like, man, why am I so irritable right now? Well, I'm tired. I need to go rest and lay down. One of my favorite quotes is, the inner purpose of emotion is to stir the body to fulfill the wishes of the heart and the desires of the mind. So when we're feeling that emotion within us, it's telling us that we need something, and we need to acknowledge that and respect that and listen and hear that.
Yeah. I love that. So this is a heightened awareness of self and prioritizing yourself, which those words are just foreign to so many.
Yeah.
Which if they are, let me say, maybe this is your moment to, for those of you that are watching, maybe this is time for you to prioritize yourself and to really dig into. I love how you said, like, society, our culture does not fit the women's cycle. And so sometimes we do have to work harder to prioritize that.
We do. And, I hope to see, the more of us that say like, hey, I need more time and space around this. The more of us that like demand that, maybe someday we will get that. I think it's so funny that you see all of these videos of these men trying these menstrual cramp things. Have you seen those?
No.
How bad?
Okay, you're gonna share it to me.
Well, they have these machines, I guess, that like simulate cramping, and on a scale of like 1 to 10 or something. And so these men will like try it and be like, oh my God, this hurts so bad. And yet we are expected to push through, to go to work, to take care of the children, to do whatever, we have to do. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's now I want to go back a little bit on something you said before when you were really trying to do that, like push through, just do the things that need to be done, not in regard of your cycle or where you were at. You mentioned like migraines and ovarian cysts and PMS symptoms. Is there something that changed in those symptoms when you started bringing awareness to your cycle?
Yes. Well, and learning Ayurveda in general. So I've had numerous ovarian cysts burst, and ended up in the ER multiple times. And I had really bad migraines for a while, and heavy bleeding, and very bad premenstrual symptoms. Resting was a big one for me, and I started to notice my mood shift at the very least. But I also started to notice, once I started incorporating more movement regularly in an intentional way, I started shifting my eating towards like my body type. And I went from heavy bleeding to like now I don't use a menstrual cup or anything, because it's just so light now. And I still experience premenstrual symptoms, but generally I can tell why, why that's happening. Like I said, it's really hard to take that time sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely. Life doesn't
it
stop,
doesn't.
right?
It as much as it would be wonderful if it did sometimes. Press pause.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you saw a big difference
Oh, yeah.
in just really starting to become aware of your cycle, to utilize your knowledge in Ayurveda and figure out which of these rituals or self-care practices would benefit you.
Yeah, and I think the first thing with really starting to notice my cycle was also like giving myself grace during that premenstrual time, because I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I am so like mean and angry right now. Why? It would be like a 360 or a 180, because I would completely go from like having all of this energy to just being drained and grumpy and like not, and like I obviously knew I had a menstrual cycle and that it affected it somehow, but there weren't, I don't know, I just felt like I could give myself more grace, understanding that like I needed more time during that time. I needed more rest during that time. So when I started to get grumpy, instead of being like, oh, I must be crazy, emotional, that stereotypical woman, I started to be able to be like, okay, I'm pushing. I'm pushing too hard. I'm pushing past my limits, and I'm taking it out on others because I'm doing that. So not only is it beneficial for me to take that time so that I feel good, it's beneficial for me to take that time so that I'm not taking it out on others around me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't just affect us, it affects all of those around us. Yeah. So we're talking about women's health, but I imagine if there's, a spouse or a partner that comes across this, they're like, yeah, I hear you. I know what you're talking about. So in our kids, right? It's just everybody that we're around. So you told us about this quiz so we can find out our type, and that's kind of a starting point, is to bring that awareness to us. Where else can anybody go who is looking to get more guidance in this? I know you have some services. Can you tell us what that looks like and how to look into that?
Yeah, so I also have some free mini courses. I have a Foundations of Ayurveda mini course on the website, and I also have a Ayurveda on the menstrual cycle mini course on the YouTube channel at Portage Family Healing Center. I also offer Ayurvedic consultations, and these can be specific towards women's health, or they can just be specific towards health issues or wanting to learn more about your mind body type, wanting to incorporate more Ayurvedic knowledge and practices, really anything with Ayurveda. So
awesome. So we've got some of these free resources being the quiz and the courses that you've made available. I think unless I just missed it, Michelle also has an amazing ebook out there that if you are a DIYer and you want to just dig in and learn some more of this information, that's always available as well. And then consultations and I will link all of these things under this video somewhere when I figure out what. It's such a learning journey, but thank you so much, Michelle. Is there anything else that I didn't touch on? I feel like we've gained a lot of information from you tonight.
well, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for checking out this video and bearing with us as we figured out technology. Have a good night.
Having me.